And as we are also joined here by Quickshot to break that one down. This is the first time since the inauguration of the LCS that a reigning champion does not make it into the playoffs. The subsequent season, that's not an easy one, but in Elements it has really been a tale of the entire split for them.
It really has. Deficio said it best right at the end of that matchup. Yes, this was the game that absolutely cost Elements their chances, but it has been a disappointing split for the entirety of the year. Constantly dropping games. They had all of those roster shuffles, Nif going to coach, Wicked out, Kevin in, Kevin out, Wicked back. None of the players or team play ever settled into a routine. There is still hope. You know, if the team does manage to make it into the summer split, they can win that still, get their ticket to the World Championships, but it is a much more difficult road.
That indecisiveness and up and downs in me was also reflected in the picks and bans in this one as well. Not a really clear plan. A couple of strange things come out, or strange. The Cho'Gath for the second time, this time top. Yesterday we saw it mid. How come all of a sudden here in Europe we've seen him twice in a row?
I have no idea. You know, yesterday we saw Unicorns run it. Today, Fnatic throw in the top lane. Lissandra was available. And I just think to myself, what does Cho'Gath give you that Lissandra does not? Why would you run that champion? You know, super high cooldowns. Yes, there's true damage. Yes, there's HP. But I just wonder what's going through the mindset. It's not been particularly successful in LPL, and it raises more questions than it answers.
Yeah, it does raise a lot of questions, and it's an obscure pick. It's had some success. We saw it in the North American LCS. It throws your opponent laner off guard. In this case, I kind of feel like when we look at yesterday's games, when we look at today's games, both teams were already locked into their playoff spots. Yeah. I don't want to say that the only reason they were playing Cho'Gath was because they were trying a few things, but certainly we haven't seen Cho'Gath really in make or break games. He has a lot of health and a fair amount of damage. He's awkward to play against, but he's not certainly one of the top tier, either top or mid laners.
Yeah, and I think it's fair. I mean, you've got an AoE silence, an AoE knockup. Yes, it is what, like 8-9 seconds on the Q and 10-12 seconds on the W mid to late game. But I'd love to talk to the teams and find out more why they're picking these things. You know, we saw some weird and wonderful picks we kept talking about at playoffs. It just throws that spanner in the works. Was it good enough to ban? Should we be scared of it? Do we play against it in best of fives?
Yeah, I mean, that's another little point there, but it was Huni that played it. Yeah. Huni's a player that, you know, is having a lot of fun here in Europe as well. Everybody's loving him for his Rumble, for, you know, now his Cho'Gath. Maybe we'll see that banned in the playoffs. Maybe it's another fear tactic out of Fnatic.
A little bit of a mind game, but be it as it may, he still made it work, or they've made it work as a team. Turning to the side of Elements, a couple of things in there. The Aurelia for Wicked, kind of his fallback, love of his life champion there. And the Lee Sin for Shook coming out when I think there would have been better things available, knowing that Rek'Sai is banned in. Maybe go for that tank jungler, knowing that you want to pressure early, but it wasn't enough when Fnatic turned it on.
And that's been one of the biggest problems here for Elements. Patch after patch, they've struggled to adapt, and 5.5 was the biggest real meta change that we've had in a very long time. They were reluctant to run a tank jungler. They've been reluctant to run tank top laners when it hasn't been Maokai. And, you know, they've been kind of forced onto almost second-tier picks. They're still strong on champions like Ahri, but, you know, they just haven't, as a team, brought their whole composition up to the top tier of current picks.
Yeah, and I also think with this particular team composition, Elements put quite a clear focus on the skirmish and the pick game with the Ahri, with the Thresh, you know, even Sivir to initiate, catch somebody off guard, and then proceed to take objectives. If you go look at the play of this particular match during the second Dragon, where Krepo was unable to catch Febiven, I feel that was a big turning point, because had Febiven been taken out, Elements could have got that Dragon despite it being a risky call, and they could have regained some map presence. But unfortunately, their pick-heavy style, when not finding picks, just got pulled apart by Fnatic and the more versatile team composition.
Yeah, and Febiven in special also went on a complete tear on his LeBlanc in this one. Yeah. So taking a step back here for Elements, they come into this day, they see Giants beating the Wolves in that very first game of the day. The spirits run high, you got to keep your eye on this match, and then you get beaten quite hard by Fnatic, and now you got to wait and possibly play a tiebreaker versus Roccat to get that 7th place spot. How will that work in their mindset, knowing that they completely have to reset?
Yeah, I think the question for the team is where do their objectives lie? Where are they visualizing? Because Krepo has said many, many times, his tweets recently last week saying how, you know, he wants to be on a team that is going to Worlds. He wants to be on a Worlds contender. As long as the team is all on that same page, they play their hearts out to lock in that 7th position. Guarantee they buy a month and a half to practice, to train, to adapt, which is something, as Stress highlighted, they've not done. If they are not on that same page and they don't win a tiebreaker, or they go to a promotion tournament and have to requalify, that's when you're going to see even more cracks showing through.
At the same time, neither team really is going to breathe a deep sigh of relief after a 7th place game because